Hey everyone, welcome to Mean Machine Talks. I'm back again with a great guest. And to give him a proper intro that is due, I thought about this a few moments ago. A returning guest, Bill Thorpe, has probably become one of the best recycling individuals that I can think of, taking your everyday cardboard and turning it into what can only be described as the most artistic artwork that you'll probably see on YouTube. There you go,
Oh.
Bill. You can take that one and put it on your business cards. Anyway, please welcome Bill Thorpe. You'll probably know him as Games Made from Cardboard. Welcome to the podcast again. How are you, Bill?
I'm very well, thank you, Dean. How are you doing?
I am doing very well. As we spoke about earlier, it is a little bit warm.
It's a
And
little bit moist at the moment.
yes, that's a bit of a dirty word you've used there, but I'll let it slide. Um, in fact, that came up on my stream the other day. Someone said, "What was it, moist or damp?" We were trying to work out which one was worse. I think we went with moist in the end.
Moist is just a worse sounding word
Yeah,
in general. Damp I can live
it
with.
is. Yeah, that damp suggests that something's been added to it. Moist suggests that it's been there for a while. I think is
Or
what
there's
the
sodden.
G-
There's sodden as well, which is another weird word to
oh,
describe dampness.
that
There's
is
a lot
true.
out
That is
there.
true. What a great way to start the podcast. Everyone's sitting there with their dictionaries now going, what's sodding and sodding? And if you are doing that, please put that in the comment section below. But yeah, just to just to start off with, it's something that I've been doing with a few different guests before. Before we get started, please promote anything that you are working on, have worked on, your YouTube channel. Get all that spiel out of the way first.
What, you want to talk about me for a little bit?
Yes, do it.
Okay. Well, I've been working for the last year and a quarter on this Doom film I've been doing. I've only made 10 minutes worth of footage, but I thought I'd show out what I've done already. So that's up on YouTube. My channel, Games Made of Cardboard. It's been a very ongoing process, and it's yet to ongo even more because I'm in hell now, which is going to be quite fun to do. But basically, that has been my main focus of everything I'm doing at the moment is this Doom film because I've been wanting to do it my whole life. Ever since I saw Evil Dead 2 when I was a kid, I was like, imagine making a film like Doom, but using sort of Evil Dead 2 as a frame to get yourself going. And I was like, oh, wouldn't that be so cool? But, it wasn't until 25, nearly 30 years later, I decided to get off my ass and do it. So, yeah. But I make video games out of cardboard in the past and stuff like that. It's all been a bit of fun. And it's great the people I've met on YouTube from doing this as well.
Yeah, I think that's something I can definitely agree with. That I know there can be some. How can I word this? There are times where YouTube can be incredibly negative, and there are many articles written about the negative sides of YouTube. But I think a lot of the positives actually outweigh the negatives, and I think what you've just touched on is a great point because we still haven't met, but we're very good friends,
Yeah.
which is quite ironic. And it's through you that I've met other people, and we have a lot of this cross connection relationships with other people, and I think that's one of the beauties of the internet and with YouTube is that it's kind of brought like-minded creative people with a similar interest. In our instance, that's obviously gaming and retro gaming. And it's allowed us to have these, things like this collaborative meeting of
Yes.
the minds. Probably you're the more creative one out of the two of us, but it still allows that connection to happen. So
Yeah.
the positive sides of YouTube do often outweigh the negatives, but the negatives are always normally focused on.
Yeah, I mean, going with this YouTube subject matter, for me, because I worked as an artist for a long time, working as an artist means sort of hiring galleries or getting group shows and that sort of thing. But a group show would be an evening of you showing your work to the max capacity of a room, which would be like under 100 people. Now, YouTube's
Sure.
completely free, and you can show it to the whole world all day long, all year round. And it's kind of like, that's a great thing for free as well. And you
Sure.
might even get paid for it at the end of it. So it's kind of like, for me being an artist, going from that to that, I'm kind of like, why is everyone complaining about this platform so much? It's amazing. But yes, it does have some downsides, but I try to forget about that.
Yeah, I feel like some of the allure, to use a word, of YouTube has slowly been eroded away, and I think that's because of the supply and demand. And I think the other thing that's kind of I wouldn't necessarily killed creativity. Well, maybe it has. Is how how cheaply someone can produce high production quality stuff with not much. And what I mean are these things. Because I've seen people create, well, much like yourself, full motion films with just a phone that have
Wow.
been outclassing, top budget in films, and all they've used is an iPhone. And I think there was a famous film that was completely shot on a mobile. I'll have to remember. If I remember it, I'll put it
Yes,
in the
yes, there is.
comment section below.
I forget what it was called. There's
Yeah, the
Hardcore
whole
Henry was shot on a Hero
yes, that was
5,
one.
but the
That's
iPhone
right. Yeah,
film, I can't. It wasn't a great film, but
yeah,
nonetheless,
yeah,
shot on
yeah,
an iPhone. That's as a technology standpoint, that's incredible.
yeah. And I think one of the it's sad because I read about this when I was at university studying media and digital media and stuff like that. And I never forget this. A tutor said to me, people are going to become so stupid that they will get excited over a few seconds. And I said, no, no. But it's true. TikTok,
TikTok,
Instagram stories, and all of this, right? So
yeah,
the problem is that you've got a platform that originally catered to people who, much like yourself, want to sit down and make something creative and build something with their own hands. And the issue is you're dealing with someone who's dancing for a few seconds that get shared around like that. And
yeah,
whereas someone who spent in retrospect a small fortune making something
yeah,
against someone who's picked up their phone to do a silly dance,
yeah,
where's the
yeah,
creativity, right? So
yeah,
I've always said this, and I've said the same about Twitter. Sorry, with Twitch and a few other different platforms. There needs to be more separation of these things, and I know YouTube are trying to do that, pushing shorts to a different thing. But you can see it's integrated into people's
yeah.
feeds and things like that. The problem is that there are people who are looking for proper content like what you make, like what my friend Neil from RMC Retro makes, Nostalgia Nerd. The list goes on, right? Of people that we know who make dedicated. Kim Justice, another perfect example
Mm.
of someone who makes incredible content, and many more. If I didn't mention,
And
you're
many
going to get
more.
irate. And many more. Other YouTubers are available. And the problem is that you've got people who are dedicating a lot of time and effort into this, but they're being overshadowed by essentially a 5% clip. And I get it, but at the same time, I don't get it. You've got a platform that's meant to be creative, and yet they're pushing these very short clips that are
Yeah,
obviously very viral and will get the views and will drive the money. But at the same time, there almost needs to be two things where it's like, is there like a YouTube is there a YouTube of old and then a YouTube of new that kind of
yeah.
needs
I
to
mean,
happen? So,
there has to be a shift somewhat for the people that are really creative that want to stay creative.
hmm,
And I just feel like you're right. There needs to be something. Maybe just. I mean, there's Vimeo out there for the more professional people, aren't there? But you got to
yes,
pay for that, I think. So, I mean, ideally, with myself, I like to do this stuff because I really love to do it. I enjoy to do it. That's what keeps me going. But
hmm,
it's it must be really tough for people that sort of been on YouTube for a long time, and then suddenly this comes around, and they're kind of like,
precisely.
well, like it's all very well and good, but like your stats might be down because of some guy dancing around in his bedroom reviewing a burger.
It's you're absolutely on the money, and I think that is why I've always said it. There needs to be a genuine direct competitor to YouTube, and if you think of video streaming platforms at the moment, I mean, there's Apple Plus, Paramount Plus, which I think now have gone together with Discovery Channel, if I
Oh
remember
God,
correctly.
there's so many.
Netflix, and a variety of different those. But the good thing is that with variety comes innovation and change and competition, right? So
Yeah,
that I'm not that I don't have too much of a problem with. But when you've got YouTube, that's probably got, I'm going to guess this, 80%, if not more, of the video market share. How can you compete against that? Because whatever they do, people will go with it because
yeah.
that is the industry standard, right?
I mean, YouTube is just changing all the time. Like what YouTube will be in 5 years from now, maybe less, like will be a completely different thing.
Mm,
So I tried not to take it too seriously, the whole YouTube thing, and
mm.
just make videos and sort of like where I'm spending so long making this video, this Doom thing. Like YouTube's probably changed from when I started it. To go
Yeah.
on.
No,
And
absolutely. I think you've mentioned a really good point because I mean you've been doing YouTube for what 4 years? Is that right?
I think it was my 5th year anniversary. I got some flashing lights and some
Okay,
tinsel and stuff and confetti, and I think that was it telling me
that'll do it
it
then.
was 5 years. I think.
5 years, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And now I remember watching some of your earlier video footage, obviously when you were doing the vlogging and stuff
Mm.
like that, and then obviously you slowly transitioned into what you're doing now. And it's it's really, I guess, to a certain degree, it's a little bit disheartening as a fan of your work, obviously, as many people are, to see the algorithm not take something where someone's clearly dedicated a lot of time and relying on the external promotion to bring people back to that video rather than the platform doing it itself. You know what
Mm.
I mean? So it's supposed to be a social media video platform, but you're having to use social media to bring
Yeah.
people to the platform. It
Yeah.
seems completely counterintuitive to myself, but again, I'm no expert. That's just my own two
Yeah. I
cents
mean,
of
yeah.
my experience.
When I put a video on YouTube, I do just think, right, I have to show this around other places to get it seen, because YouTube never seems to sort of like pick up any of my videos and that sort of thing. But
No,
the main factor of all this really is just, I just really shouldn't care about YouTube. Like, I've got to take
mm,
the Doom video I put up recently, I've got to take down. And I know I spoke to you about this. I am going to take it down, even though I think it's made like 12,000 views now, which is okay.
wow, really?
Yeah, but I've got
Wow,
to take it.
okay,
I've got to take it down because I found typos in it, and I found three
yeah,
typos, which is absolutely ridiculous. It's after working for so long, and I get 3 typos in it next to my name as well, which is so embarrassing. So I've decided to take it down. But not only that, I've been working on it since I uploaded it. I found 67 mistakes. I've counted them
wow.
all. So and I'm working on it at the moment. I've saved it, God knows how many times, but yeah, it's a big old thing, and yeah, I can't remember where I got into this topic, but
Well, let's rewind the clock a bit because I
mm,
mean, if people haven't listened to Bill's previous podcast, you
mm,
can click the link there, which
there
or somewhere in the corner
somewhere.
there'll be a link, or in the description where you can learn a little bit more about Bill. But let's rewind the clock a little bit.
Mm,
So you finish Doom 1 and 2 cardboard versions that you've done
yeah.
previously. What was the main thing to make you go, right, next project, big one, let's do Doom, I want to film? What made you flick that switch? Because all of your stuff up to then had been, very short animations, and they were brilliant, equally brilliant. I think the Sonic one and the Super Mario World one that you did on the Game Boy are two of the best things I've ever seen. They're
Oh, thank
fantastic.
you, thank you.
But for you to go from what would be deemed, pardon my lack of knowledge of how you work, I would say probably a couple of weeks' work to a couple of many months' work,
Yeah.
that's a big shift in mentality. So, what made you completely switch and decide to take this guy and make him
Oh.
centre stage?
Well, I think I did the cardboard ones, and I really
Hello.
enjoyed doing. Hello, I really enjoyed doing. And then sort of like I thought I was completely doomed out after the first one I did, and then I thought, and then I did. I think I did Sonic 1 in
Yeah.
between it as a palette cleanser, do something cute, as cute as Sonic is. Some people take it very seriously, but I see Sonic as being a bit cute compared to Doom. So anyway, I did Sonic, and then I thought, right, okay, now let's do Doom 2. I feel rough and ready to do this new Doom thing. So I did that, and that took me a year to make. Was it a year? I think it was like 9 months or something to make Doom 2. And then
Wow. Okay.
yeah, it took a while. And then after that, don't quote me, but I think I did Sonic 2 after that as another palette cleanser. And that came out. I think that came out shy of the Sonic 2 movie, I think, or something like that. No, it was way before then. And then
Mm.
I sort of again, done my Sonic thing. Now to do something more Doom related again. And I thought it would be the final Doom. It would be Doom 1, Doom 2, Final Doom. And I thought, well, Final Doom was a bit shite. So sorry, bleep out that. Doom 2
That's
wasn't.
right. You can swear on this podcast. You can do what you want.
Okay. Well, Final Doom
As
wasn't
long
that
as you
great.
don't get up and do the windmill, we're fine. So that's fine.
I don't think I'm that gifted.
Okay.
Basically, like I was
We'll do it out of cardboard.
yeah. Use the drill.
Yes,
But yeah.
exactly. There we go.
But yeah, I was going to do Final Doom, and I thought I'm not going to do that. So I thought, why don't I just do what I've always wanted to do and make a Doom film? I've always wanted to do it. Now's the time. And before I knew it, I bought a Nerf gun. And I was like, well, there's no turning back now. I've just spent money on something I'm not going to use if I don't use this for the film. So I spray painted it black and then dry brushed it silver and painted bits on, added bits of cardboard. And before I knew it, I had a plasma rifle. So like, sweet. And then I bought the BFG and handguns and started taking out a small fortune to buy all these props and, motorcycle armor, spray painting that green, and gloves. And, one tip I had as well, which is very, very crazy, but basically I had to use my wife's foundation to cover my tattoos up because Doom Guy doesn't have tattoos. And then she was like, "You're using my foundation, not shit. This is Clinique stuff, really posh stuff my wife uses."
Oh dear.
Yeah. So she's like, "You used it up," and I was like, "Sorry," and I needed it again. So so what I did is I took a smidgelet of it, went down to B&Q, and got them to make a tester pot of her foundation, and you painted my body with emulsion colored to this color of foundation. And it worked. It worked great. And I've used this. I did the same thing for the Baron of Hell. I just had to paint my whole body red and attach bits to me, pixels to me and stuff, which I've got to do again. Yeah, before it gets too cold. So yes.
Wow. Do you know what? I'd never really thought. There you go, B&Q. Good job.
Yeah.
Your mixer pot is. It's funny you mentioned that because I remember a bit being a Patreon of yours. I remember you. I don't know if you uploaded it to your main channel or it was a Patreon video. Forgive me for not remembering.
That's all right.
But I remember you saying something about B&Q, and I remember I had it on in the background. And now I didn't quite remember what it was, and now I know what it was for.
Yeah, I was painting my body. I was painting my body skin coloured, basically, to get rid of my tattoos.
In my mind, I could just imagine you walking through B&Q, going, "Look, I've run out. Can you do more of it?"
It was actually worse than that because my wife saw me covered. She sees me. She's on like conference calls and all these business things, doing this sort of stuff. And suddenly, I walk past with pixels all over me, covered, painted red. I'm like, Lauren, I'm really, really sorry about this. And sort of fake nails, those fake sort of demon nails on my hands. And she's like, "Oh my God, who did I marry?"
It would have been great if like during lockdown, whilst everyone was working from home, you get those really awkward moments where like their partner walks in, they're like in their underpants or something. It just would have been you walking around as a demon from hell. Everyone's going, "What?"
To be honest, it wasn't far from that. It wasn't far from that. There was occasions where the laptop was positioned a little bit too far to the left, and I sort of walked past. Yes.
Superb. Just the manager's going, "Is that?
Is that a demon in your house?"
It's the gardener. Honest, he's not doing anything wrong. So, coming back to the film, because obviously that is no easy task. And I mean, I remember when I was at university doing storyboarding for a 3-minute animation, and that took me the best part of about 2 months to do.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Like some shots.
You did storyboard it all, right?
I storyboarded it all in. Where is it? I've storyboarded it all in this, my little Doom storyboard book, where it's got all in there.
Okay.
Yeah. And actually,
for those listening to the podcast, Bill's holding up a book that's basically got all of the storyboarding from the film in it, which looks incredible.
And the start date was January 2021. That's when I started this. Crazy.
So what's that? A year and a half, right? Yeah.
That's a year and a half ago I started it.
Yeah.
I remember when the football was on. I don't know if you watch football, but there was the football finals on, and I remember sort of like writing the storyboard out as everyone was cheering and stuff. And oh god, memories now, memories. But yeah, many years, a year and a half later, I finished it, and I want to try and get the next part done for the 30th anniversary of Doom, which is next December.
Now that would be cool.
That would be cool.
That would be awesome.
I want to try and finish the whole thing, but it's not going to happen by then. I don't think. I'll still have the third part to do.
I think that's one thing that again, thinking about YouTube and thinking about creativity, I think, and I suffer from this a lot, where I will stew over a video so long that it almost becomes too late, and you think, have I missed the opportunity? Has the time gone? Is it even worth it anymore? And this, that, and the other. Now, obviously, it's different if you're. That's right. Go
Sorry,
on.
sorry to interrupt. What would be the as in too late, or whether it'd be worth doing it?
Well, I mean, one of the things, I mean, I've got a video that I've been trying to make for the best part of about 6 months, and um, it's around the Nvidia Shield handheld. I don't think I've got one to hand, but essentially it looks a bit like, I don't know, you could describe it like a big Nintendo DS. It was like a proper Android handheld device, and I will finish the video at some point because I've put far too much effort into it not to do it. Um, and the idea was to do a look back of, can this handheld still be used in 2022? And it came out like well over 10 years ago. And you could argue it's probably the founding father of probably every modern handheld that's come out of recent generations. So um, it's one of those things where I felt like, have I missed the boat? Because we're already halfway through the year, and I'm like, 2022 is getting on. Should I just wait until 2023, release it then? But again, it's stewing over those little silly comments. I know myself, I'll release it and then put it to bed, and I'll never think of it again. But I think there is a lot of anxiety, especially like you said, if you're going to set yourself a goal of hitting that anniversary date. Obviously, we've got a bit of time, so fingers crossed you hit that deadline.
Mm.
But it's one of those things where I think if you are trying to make a video for a specific time and the time goes, you kind of feel a little bit disheartened in yourself. Now, obviously, we're not making content 24/7 like other people, but I think there are times where maybe the doubt voice in your head starts to kick in and you start to become less interested in making videos in YouTube and stuff like that. And I hate that. I really, really hate it because in my core, I'm generally a very creative person. I studied it. It's what I do. Video editing is what I studied. And you get to that stage where I feel like, am I losing the creativity by investing too much time into something? And that was something I was going to ask you. Did you feel like at the end of the film, you had put all of your effort in? Or do you feel like there was something left in the tank that you were holding back because of maybe what people's opinions were going to be on the release or anything like that?
Well, this is quite a good question, actually. Thank you. I wasn't too sure of what was going to happen when I released it. So basically, like, it was just going to be a full film that I spend God knows how many years on. I mean, I wasn't going to release this first part. I was going to have it
Mm.
as one consecutive big long film, but I felt kind of like if it was a graph, I'd be really interested in it, and it was slowly rushed to the end. And I thought, I don't want that to happen. And also, I want to make sure I'm going down the right route. So I
Sure.
released the first part for people to see, and luckily it went quite good. But I did have this feeling at the end. I was like, oh, right, now I've got to start again and do this
Again,
next
yeah.
bit, and this is going to take another year and a half, and then another year, probably even more, to do the last part, which would be really, really big. I've got all the props now. I've spent, that's the main thing now. I've got props and I've got footage that can be reused, like the HUD. I've got the HUD and I've got some certain effects that you kindly gave over to me, which is very kind. But like,
That's right. No problems.
yeah, but like, when it gets to the end of a project, with most of my projects, you feel like you've lost something. You feel like someone's just died. You feel kind of like you've lost a friend that you used to hang out with all the time every day, and now that friend's gone home, and it's going to be a while before that friend comes back, if he comes back. So kind of like I
Mm.
do have certain things to keep keep my spirits up. One of those things actually is to print out the comments that I get, because I get some nice comments from people, and I'm going to put them in this book. So I'm going to print out stuff and put them in this book, and also kind of like I got some things that happen from this film that really sort of motivate you is when people share it out. Romero Games got in contact and stuff like that and said I've done a good job and that sort of thing, and like
Mm.
Romero and stuff give me some good input, and like also I got an IMDb, which I was really pleased with, because that's kind of like a bit of a dream of mine to get on IMDb. So that's kind of like a nice thing too. It's these little things that kind of like when you come to the end, you're like, oh, that was nice, it's done. What do I do now? And then when certain things happen, you're kind of like, yes, let's go. I've got this motivation now to push me to the next step, which is going to hell now. And I'm so lucky that it's ended now, and I've still got 110% drive to carry on, because I was really worried I'm going to finish it and I'll get a load of hate and a load of shit, and I'll be like, you know what? Screw it. I'll leave it there. You know, a bit like Super Mario Bros. The first film. If you've seen that, the ending of that,
Yes,
or like
yes.
you know, those films end on cliffhangers and never return. It might be something like that. But luckily, I've still got the drive, and I've thought of the ending for part 3, and it's so far away. But it's one of those things. It's like when I thought about making a Doom film when I was a kid, I've still used some of the elements in this that I've been thinking about from when I was a kid. So that ending isn't going anywhere. I've really chuffed with the ending for this, and I think it would piss some people off, but I don't really care.
It's funny you mentioned that, and it was something that I thought about even when you first started the film, and I never actually asked you this, and there's a reason for it, which is when you're making a film based on something, whether it be a game or a book or something like that, there's always that error or issue of, do you stay true to the source? So, you know, do you keep it exactly the same as the game and the storyline and all the lore that's behind it? Or do you try to add your own flair to it? And it's funny because I always used to sit on the fence with this, and maybe it's because I'm getting older in my old rocking chair. I'm not sure. Um, but I feel like if you don't add your own flair to it, all you're doing is a copy and paste job, but with your eyes open,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you're not really adding anything except for a visual element. And that was one of I guess what I was going to ask you was, did you have some, I guess there must have been some anxiety that the Doom community, who I know can be a very critical about things like this, did you fear any blowback about not being exactly straight to the lore and having your own take misinterpreted within the film?
Good question. Another very good question. Well, I think I'm a fan of Doom. There are loads of fans that have shared Doom the way I share it, or the way see Doom the way I see it. And if that's it, that's it. But I mean, everyone has an opinion. And sorry, I had a really good idea of explaining this. Creative direction, wasn't it? I think ideally
Hmm.
it's wise to stay close to the source material. You can't sort of drift away from the source material because that is what it is. If I start like look at the last 2 Doom movies, that was when it strayed way too far away from what Doom is and ignored it really and changed it to something else. I think that's a big mistake, and that's what happens with video game movies a lot. Is they don't stick close to what it is. I'm just someone that is basically making a film on other people's great work. I'm like just someone that wants to make something on something that is close to my heart. There be it. I do think, me being a bit of an artist, I want to sort of have my own creative direction as well. So I have kind of had like a lot of little Easter eggs to films, other films I like, and taken inspiration from other films, including that, like Evil Dead and
Hmm.
Runner and Terminator. There's all little Easter eggs in this from that, and there will be more things from other films that I like infused into this too, but with my own little take. I kind of wanted to make Doom a bit as it's more realistic, real life looking. This one, I kind of wanted to make it a little bit more gritty, but kind of like
Hmm.
you have so much freedom, really, because Doom is they're a very good but quite simplistic shooter. You do have you can go different routes, you can try new things, but yeah, I think I've stayed close to it, but I am taking it a little bit in my own direction, just a little bit. But the most important thing is keeping myself happy and I suppose the community happy by sticking close to my guns, so to speak.
What was your biggest fear whilst making this film?
I think it was absolutely sucking and people coming to my house and trying to burn it down. Yeah, probably, probably that. But I think
I
realistically,
shouldn't laugh. How sadistic.
but my biggest fear,
Burn him, burn a witch.
I suppose, my biggest fear was just making another shitty a Doom film. Um,
Hmm.
and you know, from what I'm reading, you can never really tell from the early stages because things change over time, people's opinions and stuff. But from what I'm hearing, people enjoyed it and people were looking forward to the next part, and that is good enough for me. But my fear was, I suppose, it just absolutely sucking, and I've wasted a lot of time and effort on something that is just another crappy Doom flick.
I think one thing that did go through my mind was, when you're making, I don't want to say a low budget film because it's not. I guess a fan made film is probably a better phrase to
Mm.
use. How can I word this? Did it go through your mind about leaving out any elements of cardboard and just going for a full motion just video, or
Yeah, I mean,
was the cardboard a true calling back to yourself when you were making the film?
I think the budget has a lot to do with it. I mean, like, I haven't really got the
True.
money for like large sets and that sort of stuff. So if I can make miniaturized ones out of cardboard, and also the demons were really took a lot of brain power to think of how am I going to do the demons. I could scat around on
Mhm.
eBay for Halloween masks. I could, try and make my own out of paper mache and that sort of thing. But it's never going to really work unless you have the demons looking like the demons from the game. And the way the demons look is pretty much like out of cardboard, really. So if I can kind of replicate the demons out of cardboard and make them look slightly more realistic, if that's even the word, or kind of
Mm.
like pixelation into real life. If I can somehow do that, like the
Yeah.
Lost Souls, have a Lost Soul but with an actual real fire burning head. If I can try and do that and
Mm.
make it work, then that's kind of a good thing. I think the Baron of Hell worked. I was most pleased with that because that was kind of like my body covered in pixels and then with a pixelated
Mm.
head. And I kind of made that work with a moving jaw and stuff. And I think I made that work, but it was really hit and miss at the beginning. Like I was like, oh my god, this looks a bit odd having pixels and real life. How do I differentiate it? It was quite tricky, but nonetheless, a funny little experience.
No, I think when I watched it for the first time, I was alone and I just sat in front of the TV and I was like, right, Bill, years of work. Let's see what this is all
Oh my
about
god,
then.
I was so scared.
And 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 I think I will come on to that in a moment. I think one thing that blew me away was that I think you hadn't overhyped the episode or movie, if we call it an episode for this instance. Um, my expectations were, well, I didn't really have any, to be honest. I mean, I'd known you obviously through your previous work, and I think a lot of other people had exactly the same thing, which is, well, let's see what this is all about then. And
Good.
I think the moment you started to see the guns being loaded, and I think the spoilers if you haven't seen it yet, the bit with the cassette when you switch it around and the music changes and stuff like that, even if you're not a Doom fan, and even if you don't get it, it was shot in such a way that straight away you knew exactly what was going on. And I think that is a very powerful tool that even if you're not an ingrained, diehard Doom fan, even if you've heard of Doom, and if you haven't, where the hell have you been? Um, you'll still have some idea, right? And straight away it catches you. And I think the cool thing is that as it progresses, as you said, you start to meet all the enemies, and they start to get introduced to you, and you start to see it all slowly start to come to life. It goes from 0 to 100 very quick, and there are some bits that always make me laugh. I think the bit when you hit the play button, the guy's head just pops off, always makes me laugh every
Yeah.
time. um and it was one of those things where I got to the end and I thought, wow, like this is cool,
Oh, thanks, man.
this this is very different to anything else. Because, and again, this is no disrespect to anyone else who's ever attempted this, but there are people who have tried to make, I'm not going to say the Hollywood Doom films because I don't even class them as movies. They're just things that exist. But there are people who have tried to make low budget versions of a Doom film, and I think they focus so much on delivering, big explosions and this and that and that, that the whole ethos of what you're trying to achieve of the storytelling is completely lost. And I think that's why this particular episode sets the complete foundation and the undertone of exactly what's going on here. And I would honestly say I think it probably is your best work.
Oh, thank
Um,
you, man. I really
as
appreciate that.
even even though it's taken you, a year and a half, as we've just found out, you can see the level of detail, right? And I know you called out earlier with all of the errors and stuff, but honestly, I didn't spot a single one
Oh,
because I was
good.
so like let's go, like let's kill some demons, Bill, like let's go, because you forget all that. You completely forget all that because you're so ingrained into the story that you completely forget all the errors. And it's funny because I experience a lot of this in my own day to day, where I obsess of the perfection. I always constantly check spellings and mistakes and things like that. But we're only human; things get missed. But
Yeah.
I feel like there is a fine balance where if you obsess on something too much, you lose the creativity of what you've built. And I think, I know you beat yourself up regularly about the errors in the video, but I think if you push that aside and you look at what's left, there's no doubt that what you've made is absolutely first class for a
Oh,
one man team
and
to
Wilson.
produce that. And Wilson, sorry, a one man and his dog. Other films are available. To produce that by yourself is incredible. And I really hope that when you get this done, it is the catapult to something else. In fact, I'm going to call out another podcast that I listen to quite regularly, which is the Diary of a CEO, which has got one of the guys from Dragon's Den. And he said recently that if you go, I mean, you can't, it's a similar analogy, which is basically about business, which is if you have a set of dominoes, if that first domino you push over is not your best work, you won't have enough momentum to take you to that next domino and keep that going.
I
And I
see.
think that, and I think that's why when I look at this film, you can see that you've put so much effort into it that by the time you finish this eventual film, if something massive doesn't come to the end of this, I will eat my own head because someone's got to pick it up. Because I was sitting there the other day going, okay, so if you take this I guess workflow that you've built and try and apply it to other things, you could produce essentially live action films of every FPS that's ever been made in the early 90s and 2000s. There's an endless thing, and you could use it as a whole storytelling thing. So there is so much potential with what you built, and I think you've not realized how important it is of what you've established with yourself. And I know you're an incredibly humble person, and it's one of the reasons I like you so much. But
Oh.
I genuinely think I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. I only speak the truth. But I genuinely believe that by the end of this journey that you're currently on with this Doom film, that something massive is going to happen at the end of it. Because
It'll be really cool if it does, but I think it's already won it for me in a certain way because it's worked for people that are obsessed about Doom. And if that's happened, then that's good enough for me. Getting an IMDb, those sort of things are wonderful because it's kind of like, wow, that's incredible that you're on IMDb. But like, what really resonates with me is I've made something work that hasn't worked before with this Doom universe. I know it's only low budget. I know it's only like made for YouTube and it's a fan film. It's cost me like only cost me £12,000 to make. But like like in compared to our big Doom films that have the budget and stuff, it's quite nice to know that the Doom community have got my back for this one. I feel, and it's really nice. It is really nice. So I'm gonna just give it as best as I can and just stay true to Doom. It's just the main thing. Stay true to Doom. Stay true to Doom. But I'm going to have a few of my little bits and bobs around that might make people smile.
I think it's funny you mentioned about budget because I think I mentioned this on quite a few other different podcasts. I think when I was talking to Daniel Pesina from Mortal Kombat, the guy who played Johnny Cage.
Yeah.
I don't know why I just did that. Like I was going to punch someone in the face. That was a bit weird. But the one thing I said to him was that you guys were in a back room with a video camera trying to make motion pictures on a basic wall with nothing, right? And I think because of the low budget that they had, it forced creativity. And I've always said that if you want to produce your best work, give yourself very hard boundaries. Because, as I said, and this is kind of going back to what we were saying at the start about YouTube, when you have essentially an infinite thing to work from, a 4K camera. Most microphones on phones are relatively good now. The lack of creativity is gone, right? Because you're not being forced to work into something. And the thing that came to mind was when I was at university, I studied animation, and Aardman came to mind, the people behind Wallace and
Yeah,
Gromit.
yeah,
And when you think of, I don't know if you've ever seen the first ever Wallace and Gromit
I
film,
have. Is
and
it the not the one on the oven on the moon?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, you think of Wallace and Gromit, and people start to think of the wrong trousers and all of that. But if you wind the clock right back, when he first ever started doing those animations, they were crap. I mean, I can say that even now because it was just setting, like I said, it was setting the foundation of what was to come in the future. And I remember, I'm trying to remember the story. I think he pitched the idea to some very large company, and they basically said, "Oh, what the hell? Is a stop motion. No one's ever going to be interested in that." Well, last laugh was on him, right? So,
Mm.
um, it just shows that I think if you have the right foundation, the right vision, the right setup, and the right guidance, when you present that in front of someone, and you've got the passion, which clearly you have, it will lead to something else. And that's why I said about staying enthusiastic about what you do, because if there was a time when you feel disheartened and you feel like you haven't got the energy anymore, that will translate into the end result. And this brings me on to another question, which is, I was looking at some other directors, and I think Tarantino is an interesting one, where
Mm.
every film he will try a different style, and I wonder if that is because he wants to create that creativity up. So if you look at Kill Bill 1 and 2, they're very
I,
different, right?
yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I've been listening to it. He's a very fascinating bloke, and he's a very generic director to pick for one of your
Yeah.
favorite directors. But like, I think he is the best for a reason. And if you listen to him talk about films, you learn something new about film every time. And I've picked up a lot
Mm.
from him, in an essence of kind of like just really go all out. Like, don't follow the Hollywood machine. There is no sort of like, it doesn't need to have a happy ending all the time. You don't need to meet a girl, don't need to meet a guy. It doesn't follow like this. There doesn't need to be like this and that. Just do something the way you want to do it and make it work, and that's it. And there was something else I was going to mention about him, but yeah, I've listened to a few of his podcasts, and it's just really interesting. Listen to him talk
Mm.
about film, and just so unbelievably knowledgeable about every different film there is out there.
And that was one of the things, was I was kind of thinking about, well, okay, if you look at Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2, they're very different
Mm.
films, same storyline, same undertone, two completely different get my teeth back in, transitioning filming styles and storytelling. And the question is to yourself, and again, you don't have to commit to this if you don't want to,
Mm.
are you looking to do any, I guess, overall changes in the look and delivery of the action in the second film to the second episode rather than the first one?
Well, Hell's probably quite a big place, and
Pretty full, maybe.
and it's probably a bit larger than the confines of the shed where I shot the first part in. So I was thinking about traveling somewhere to get some of the shots. Now I was in Jordan, and if I picked up the courage to bring all my props with me to Jordan, it's where they shot The Martian and some of Star Wars.
Hmm.
And it looks like you're on Mars, basically. And I'm kicking myself a little bit that I didn't bring my props with me and do some shooting, but it was like 40, 45 degrees, which isn't much different from here. But I'm thinking about traveling somewhere to film some of the hell sequences. I was thinking about the Cheddar Gorge. You know, Cheddar
Hmm.
Gorge? I was thinking about going to
Yeah.
some of the caves and seeing if they let me hire out the caves for a day to do some filming. I don't know if that's possible, but I'm going to try and swing it. Also, some of the mountains around there, maybe travel up to Scotland. And all you need really is kind of like to film the mountains and stuff, and then I can take it home and hope that I can color correct it so much it would look like hell, and maybe sort of try and cut out the backgrounds and put in some fast moving clouds and some ash and fly everywhere, and that could be quite cool. But I really got some good ideas for this Baron of Hell. I want him to be like the main protagonist. I don't know if you watched Game of Thrones. I know the ending was absolutely awful, but there was a really
Yes.
cool
Yes, it was.
image with Hardhorn. where you got like the White Walkers standing on top of the cliff looking down. I've got this really cool image of kind of like the Baron of Hell bringing all these guys back to life, and like he's standing on the mountain. It'd be so cool.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, something like that.
Well, that's what I mean about giving yourself a foundation to work around, right? Because as you said, if you've got an endless bucket of money, they'll go, well, next week we're going to Jordan, we'll film a couple of shots, we'll
Yeah.
have a couple of bevies, and then we're going home. So I think that's where giving yourself a boundary to work from really does help. And one film that comes to mind was Kung Fury. I don't know if you've seen it.
Kung
Um,
Fury. Kung Fury, yes, I've seen Kung Fury. Yes, it's the
so I
David
watched.
Hasselhoff music
That's
video,
it.
but doesn't have any.
That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, amazing. That's
So
incredible.
yeah, so all of that, the majority of it was actually shot on a green screen, and
Yeah,
I was shocked when I saw the making of. I was like, oh, because the problem is that you think in your head, well, okay, if I've got a 16:9 view and a green screen is only yay big, taking up not the whole screen, you think,
Mhm.
oh well, what can I do? And then you think, well, actually, if I'm a bit more creative and actually stand a bit further away from it, it actually gives you a bit more width to work
Yeah,
from.
yeah.
So by doing that and then zooming it up and then cropping the rest of it out, you actually give yourself a lot of room. And that's how things like, for anyone who hasn't seen the film, there's a big, I think it's Thor falls out of the sky and hits the water, and all the water splashes up, and all of that was shot in front of a green screen. I thought,
It's incredible what you can
Christ,
do.
that's
A lot of it can be done and accomplished well with lighting. The right lighting can really make stuff a green screen background blend so well. I'm not a master for it. I mean, like I say, I've got limited amount of space, so I'm not the best. So I try and have a background as best as I can. This is why I'm going to go up to Cheddar Gorge, is because I want to get some backgrounds. I don't want to do a lot in green screen unless I
Hmm.
really need to for certain shots. So kind of like I take a lot of photos in case I need them, but I want to try and make it as practical as I can. But if you're good with lighting, like the Kung Fury, and you can
Hmm.
really make it work, then that's incredible. But that is on another level of editing. That Kung Fury, that
Well,
is just
I
ridiculous.
I'm about to set the bar a little bit higher on that. I saw, I mean, I'm not sure if you're into rap music at all, but the rapper Joyner Lucas, he's got a track called ADHD because he suffers from it. And there's the main video, and then there's a making of video. And what they've done is they've split the screen in half, and you see the bottom half of the final edit, and then at the top is a bird's eye view shot of the studio. And it's one of the most insane things I've ever seen. So imagine a rugby shaped shooting area, and around the outside is a massive green screen. And as he's moving around, this green screen is moving around with him. So he'll like sit down at a table that's all been keyed out as well, and then he'll get up and then move over it. And this whole green screen, it's all done in one take. And then at certain points, there's people like running in the background doing stuff and throwing like something in, and then they'll
Amazing.
light it up on that particular scene and then pull that light out. It is one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. Honestly, go and watch it.
I'll check that
Just go
out.
into YouTube and type in Joyner Lucas ADHD making of, and just you'll be like, how is that even possible? There's certain bits that even you rewind going, is that how they did that? Like it's insane. And the reason why I mentioned that is there's certain scenes where, for instance, he'll be in a doctor's office. So obviously you've got very fluorescent tubing lighting. So it will all look very bright and very cold in light. And then there'll be a scene where he's outside in a sunset and all of the dynamic light will change. And obviously the background changes because it's been keyed out, but they'll match the light to the background that's there. It's just honestly, it's one of the most insane videos I've
Oh my
ever seen.
god.
And I'm surprised it hasn't won more awards because it is what I call timing and lighting perfection.
You know,
Everything has to align to do those things.
I'm almost scared to watch that kind of stuff. Like,
It is. It makes you intimidated. You go, "Ooh,
there's
Christ!" Like
there's a
one slip up, the whole thing needs to be reshot.
there's a film that's come out recently called Mad God or something. I can't. It's Mad God or something like that. And it's basically like I think this really famous person that's involved in stop motion, and he did stuff for Star Wars, and he did stuff for the Dark Crystal, I think, as well. He's spent 30 years making this film, which is all
Wow.
stop motion. and I'm too scared to watch it because I know I'll be like, right, time to step it up a notch. But it could be a good thing for me to watch it, but at the same time, I'll be like, I kind of want to finish my thing and not
Yeah.
like look at this before I do my own stuff because that shot's crap. That shot's crap because I saw this thing on TV, and you know what I mean. It looks incredible, like
Hmm.
unbelievable. But
Interesting.
yeah,
I'll have to take a look at that. I mean,
because
I briefly did stop motion when I was at university. In fact, one of my lecturers was one of the, I can't remember if he was an animator or he was the head animator on the original Jurassic Park movie.
oh my
So he actually,
god,
so you know some of the animatronics on the dinosaurs when you get like really close up shots of them. I think the
the T Rex
Velociraptor that
eye.
comes up to the window, the T
Uh,
Rex eye is one, and then the Velociraptor that comes up to
no.
the thing. So he was explaining to us how a lot of that was done, and they were toying with the idea of doing a lot of that stop motion, and they had actually built this. I don't know. He could describe it. It was like well, essentially they built this wire mesh dinosaur that actually moved and animated that he could actually do stop motion with.
Yeah,
And they got to the end and they realized if we're going to do every scene stop motion, we're going to be here until like
yeah.
freaking 10 years, right? So what was quite interesting is if you've ever played around with 3D modeling software, you
Uh-huh.
basically build your skeleton and then you rig it up so that the arms move and manipulate and stuff like that. They 3D scanned this dinosaur and then brought that into a piece of software, and because the wire mesh was so accurately done, they matched it against an actual dinosaur's, or what would be an actual dinosaur's run. And they were like, this is it. We figured it out. We
No.
can now
Is
animate
that is that
this
how
thing
is that how they
perfect.
is that how they did the T Rex? No
Yeah.
way. Because I've never
Yeah.
seen anything that looks that good. I've never seen anything that looks that good
Mm,
CG. How and I was like,
yeah.
how the hell did they do it? Why we have this technology then? Why can't it be like you see the T Rex in the new Jurassic Park movies? It looks terrible. Like
Exactly.
most of the dinosaurs. Is CGI getting worse?
Well, it's funny you bring that up. And again, this comes back to what I said to you about having boundaries to spark creativity. Because when I was doing 3D modeling, there was only, what was there? 3D Studio Max, there was Maya or Maya. And I think Blender was very much in its infancy. And those were pretty much the big three hitters for animation. The problem is now is that back then you had to learn skeletons, you had to learn rigging, you had to learn about skins, you had to learn about textures and bump mappings and all of that crazy stuff, most of which I've forgotten now, unfortunately. Um, but the issue now is that for not a lot of money, you can essentially buy a piece of software that will give you 90% of the work and expect you to deliver the rest of the 10%, right? So that's where the creativity is meant to come into. I genuinely feel the easier we make things, the creativity is being lost. And this comes back to your work with cardboard, because rather than sitting there going, I'll just full motion video the shit out of this and make my own Doom film, because you've had to force yourself to use cardboard and cover yourself in B&Q paint, um, you know, you've had to bring that on board to almost reduce the level of what it could have been, which is, as I said, full motion video, but bring that creativity level up. And I feel like now, especially as you said, with animation actually getting worse, that in my opinion, some of the best animation I have ever seen, and I will stand by this until the day I die, is the original Toy Stories film and Shrek 1. They are
Yeah.
two of the most perfectly animated films ever. Problem is, as things have gone on, laziness starts to set in, because, you know, big film. Oh, okay, you know, we've got to make Toy Story, right? Big budget. We've got to think about everything. Essentially, once you've got that done, you sit there and go, well, the production team are now expecting another 4 films, right? So, right, we'll take the same thing, use
Oh.
it again. We'll take the same thing. And then, you know, an animator might leave and they'll go, oh, what's this shit? We'll get rid of that. We'll just redo it my way. And as those assets slowly get to be passed down and down and down, people start to have their impact on it. And I think things start to get lost. And for instance, as I said, you go back to Jurassic Park 1, and then you look at the latest one, you took something that was built to move and react in the real world as a dinosaur would have moved, to now somebody's interpretation in the digital world of what they may have seen on videos or documentaries and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
there's a lot to be said about taking real world assets and bringing it into the physical world, and that's where things like motion capture have come a long way, especially from um, facial recognition, from speech and stuff like that. But I feel like the fluidity of movement is slowly being lost, because rather than using real life people, obviously we can't real life dinosaurs, but instead of building a physical rig and then bringing that into 3D, people are just going, well, no one really knows, so we'll just have a guess at it and we'll say that's that. But the detriment is that the creativity of what it could have moved like is being lost, because essentially someone couldn't be asked and they've got a deadline that they need to finish next week.
Yeah, that's very true. Well said.
Hmm.
Yeah, well said.
As I said, it frustrates me because there are many people that I know absolutely love the Jurassic Park franchise, and I remember seeing Jurassic Park 1 in the cinema and being blown
I
away
was
by it.
destroyed by that film. I flipping loved it. I got home and made my own dinosaur park with all my dinosaur toys.
In fact, I got so much into Jurassic Park that I don't know if you remember. You remember the like they used to do monthly magazines, right? I think it was called Dinosaur, and it had like a
Yeah, I
T
remember
Rex that you would
that.
build.
I remember
Yeah,
that.
glow in the dark
Yeah,
shopping.
yeah,
I literally collected the entire thing, and like I was dinosaur in through and through. So dinosaurs were like a massive part of obviously yours and my
yeah. I
childhood.
loved
We're of
them.
the same age, and the problem is that I feel like now that rather having those great memories that have sparked creativity that have then gone into school, which has then forced you when you go home to get that magazine from the corner shop, you know, that whole
Mhm.
ethos and cycle. When a child at a young age is being placed into a cinema and they see, well, I don't know what the latest age rating is on the latest Jurassic Park. Forgive me if it is slightly older than 12. Um, but if they are placed in front of that and that is the representation they get, they'll just go, nah, dinosaurs are right. Yeah, let's go and play with something else. And it's like,
Yeah.
do you understand how cool that is?
Yeah.
But it's been presented in such a bad way.
I mean, but it's just the times changing. There is so much now to
Hmm.
distract children's attention. Back then, it was kind of like NES games and Jurassic Park's coming out, and that was our world. Waiting for this film to come out. There wasn't much else around for us. Play a bit of football in the park.
Yeah.
But whereas now you got tablets, you got all these other things for kids to take their attention away from. So yeah, maybe the next generation's doomed. I don't know.
So here's an interesting question for you. I never actually asked you this. Was
Yeah,
about sound effects and special effects, because um, I remember watching something on YouTube and it was about how people make sound effects for movies. And I remember, I'm trying to remember now. Was it how they made in a particular film how they made noises for someone getting punched in the head? And I think it was like they got a banana and hit it on a table,
yeah,
because they were like, it's smushy enough to sound like skin, but it's got a hard enough outer layer that if you hit it on a table, it sounds like someone being punched in the head. And I was like, how do you think of that? And the guy was like, well, we just sit there and think about it at night. And then I'm like, I'm going to go and grab a banana and hit it and record it. And be like, yeah, that's tomorrow's job done. And I'm like, what?
yeah, yeah.
So going back, going back to your film, how much of your own sound effects did you have to create? And did you come up with any cool and creative ways to come up with some of those?
Some of them, like the gun cocking noise and stuff, I just like put the gun on and then I'd slow down the sound effect. So it goes
Ah,
because if you use a sound, it's a toy shotgun, so it's like like
right.
that. So like if you slow it down or add like a bit of bass onto it, it can sort of sound a bit more meatier. So that I did that with a lot
Right.
of sound effects. Try and record them outside or something, and then slow it down and manipulate it. Put a cathedral filter over it, which gives it a bit of echo, stuff like that. And like
Yeah.
I had to record my own voice for the Baron of Hell. Really wasn't sure of if the Baron of Hell should talk, but I thought if he's the main protagonist, I want them to have kind of a conversation, even though Doom Guy would never speak. It's kind of like he's trying to get him to talk, but I wanted him to talk in like I wanted him to talk in like in Shakespearean. You seen that film The Witch with the these and thous and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah.
I sort of wanted that, and sort of like a bit, like, like on the box of Thy Flesh Consumed, you've got the big Baron of Hell's head on the front of it. I sort of thought that maybe you could talk in Shakespearean.
I was I was actually wondering if he was going to rhyme like the rest of your video.
Oh yeah,
Unfortunately,
that would have been funny. Yeah, that would have been a tongue twister. But yeah, other sound effects and stuff. I managed to nab a few sound effects from the Transformers movies and manipulate those and slow those down and speed them up. Because I tell you what, the Transformers movies, love them or hate them, they have the best sound effects, on par with Star Wars, if you ask me, man.
I agree.
Transformer sound effects are just ridiculous, and sometimes it's annoying because the latest Transformers movies aren't the best, but the attention to detail and like the work that goes into making this stuff, especially like Game of Thrones as well, the work that went into making that stuff was phenomenal. But the direction and the script writing was abysmal, and it's just so sad that these talented people now have worked so hard on Game of Thrones, and actors and actresses worked so hard on it, and it's just like, oh, let's just move on to Star Wars, and then he gets fired from Star Wars.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh crap, we could have actually put a bit of effort into Game of Thrones. It's real sad. But that's the problem. Money takes over, and stuff gets forgotten about and thrown to the back, and you're right, we can do this now, let's work on this, let's push this along. That's the thing with me. I spent 12 grand on this Doom film, and I really never want money to be the factor of this, to sort of think I've got to, just buy the stuff, buy the props, and just forget about it and make a Doom film. And who knows, good things may happen, they may not. I don't really care. I've always wanted to make a Doom film, and I suppose that's that.
Do you know, you touched on something, and it just brought back a memory for me, which was about do I want to call it a money grab? Maybe a money opportunity is probably a better phrase. So the one thing that came to mind was going back to Toy Story, because I remember seeing that as a kid, and it's one of the reasons why I studied animation was actually because of Toy Story.
Yeah.
And I remember as a kid, obviously you see Woody, you see Buzz Lightyear, and I mean, I was in love with the film as a kid. Like, I absolutely adored it. Like, I had pencil cases, everything, right? Like, you could imagine as a kid, you want everything Toy Story. I remember my mum had to speak to someone she used to work in a hotel, speak to someone who was I think she was a air hostess for an American airliner, who managed to bring back a boxed Buzz Lightyear for me. And I've still got it somewhere. God knows how much it's worth. But anyway, that's for a different story at a different time. But there was a part of me after the nostalgia kind of went by, which went, I don't know if I like this or not, because when you see things on screen, I don't know if that's where it should belong. Like, once you have something in your hand, you kind of go, well, the allure's gone. Half of the enjoyment is going to watch your favorite character on screen.
I get what
right?
you're saying.
And the problem is I never forget when I used to go shopping with my dad into Tesco's, and we used to go down the toy aisle, when it was at the time when we were looking for a Buzz Lightyear, and there was just Woody toy, and no Buzz Lightyears at all. And I sat there and I went, Christ, this is weird, because you suddenly go, well, hang on a minute, this has now become a commercial thing, right? So you've got all the different characters and stuff, and again, it comes down to that creativity thing. You start to introduce more characters, which then means you can sell them, which then means it's more revenue. So does it become more about the film, or does it become more about the cash grab of selling all the additional stuff that comes with it? Which, again, if you take Star Wars as an example, no one expected that film to become the infinite success that it seems to have at the moment, bar probably episodes 1 to 3, but we'll look over those. So, it's a very interesting thing. And again, a lot of that, I think, is that, as you quite rightly said, because the monetary focus is there, the creativity and the main reason for making it is being lost. And I think that is the reason why your episode 1 stands out so well, because it hasn't got big Paramount logo, smack. There isn't this, oh, look, there happens to be a shield pad that Doomslayer has picked up. Oh, he isn't wearing a Apple Watch. There's none of that. There's no brand or anything like that. It's you, your creativity, and you're making something, and that's what filmmaking should be. And the worst example I've seen of this was it was the Terminator film with Christian Bale, and I remember seeing it in the cinema, and I laughed, and everybody was looking at me going, "Are you mental?" And I went, "No, this is mental." There was two scenes that made me laugh. The first one, I think John Connor goes to open the door, and he pulls open a Sony Vaio laptop, and I'm like, even when the world is ending, Sony is still making laptops, right? Good job, Sony. And then the other part was, I think is there a scene where he reaches out for something, and then the camera comes from above, and it sort of zooms in on his Psycho watch, and I'm like, guys, like seriously, the end of the world is happening, and your product promoting stuff, like it's absolute nonsense, and it killed the entire thing. And I was actually enjoying the movie up until then, until I spotted the Sony logo on the laptop, and I'm like, seriously, guys, really? Really, the world is ending. You're going, hang on a minute. I need to do a Sony firmware update on this laptop. Like, really? So, again, I genuinely believe you're on the right path, Bill. And I remember having this conversation with you before on the previous podcast, because I think there was a part when you were doubting whether you were going to carry on with YouTube and making films and doing cardboard and carrying on with that. And I'm glad you have, because not only are you doing something that you love, you're doing it on a game that you adore. And I think that means that the creativity will always be there, because I think if you pick a subject matter that you're not interested in, you probably would have lost your interest most of the way through it.
Even with like doing the Sonic games, I mean, I like Sonic, I grew up with it, but it's not my favourite. I like it. I like its existence. But with the Sonic 2 one, I finished it. It's like when you go for a jog or something, you need to jog somewhere, and you get there, you're like, I don't think I could have jogged any further than that. But I did. It was kind of like that. It was like I finished it. I was like, I don't think I could have done put any more effort into that than I have, because I feel like I was done at the end, right at the very end. I was like, thank God there's no more to do, because I'm sonicked out. But I tell you what, going back to films, man, I saw a really good film the other night. It was called Prey. Have you seen that yet?
No, I've not seen it yet.
You haven't seen it? It was actually a breath of fresh air. It was actually very surprising. I enjoyed it. A lot of people don't seem to like it, but movies are hard to make, as I found out, and I like to give stuff cut a bit of slack for a lot of filmmakers these days. And I felt like that was a real good one. Quite low budget, but a good one.
I think that's a very important point, right? And I think you mentioned it earlier, which is that everybody has an opinion, and how can I word this? Funny enough, this actually came up on a previous podcast, which is the voice of self-doubt. And I think as humans, we're always searching for validation in whatever we're doing. So especially if you're doing something creative, whether that's music or filmmaking or whatever you're doing, I think there's always that, do I need validation, or can I just do this off my own back? And the problem is obviously you've picked probably one of the most loved franchises in gaming history. Hello, Doom Guy. And obviously there are 1,000 different opinions on things, but I think what I love is that you took the best things of Doom and the best things that you love about filmmaking and kind of smushed the two together, right?
Yeah.
There will always be the naysayers. There will always be those who say, oh, you should have done this. You could have done that. Well, It's like, well, A, why didn't you say that a year and a half ago if you were that intent on telling me? Or have a go yourself. And half the problem is that I think a lot of people are very easy to criticize without knowing the full story. And I think the other cool thing that you've done is document the making of.
Yeah.
Because as I said, when people watch Jurassic Park, they'll go, it's just a dinosaur. But then you see the making of and you go, whoa, oh no, it isn't.
Yeah, that was
there's about 50 people who were involved in just one dinosaur. When you think like that,
I remember seeing the making of Jurassic Park. I had a book of it, and I think on the front cover I had Steven Spielberg sitting with these cross-legged and these two great big Tyrannosaurus legs behind him. And it was just a statement to say kind of like, yeah, this is the real deal. We made big dinosaurs. And didn't Stan Winston work on Jurassic Park as well? You know Stan Winston, the guy behind like
Yeah,
Aliens and Terminator. Yeah, I
I think
think
that's correct. Yeah.
yeah, I think he worked on Jurassic Park 2, which goes to show. I think he made the Dilophosaurus, and I think he helped with the Tyrannosaurus as well, and Velociraptors. But I really feel that we will never see certain films like that again. Well, we had Blade Runner
No.
2049, but nothing.
Hmm.
Do you know anything that has come around that is new and fresh that has worked? Do you know anything that has come? I'm sure
I
there's
do,
something.
and it's proper. So one of my favorite films of all time is a film called Drive.
Drive. Yes, I know
Um,
Drive. Yeah, I know
yeah,
Drive. Yeah, yeah, good film. Very good film.
and I've watched the film probably a few dozen times. Bit obsessed with it. And the reason why I'm obsessed with it is I often trawl through YouTube and look at the making of, and every time I discover something about that film, I have even more respect for it. So, for those who haven't seen Drive, I would suggest you go and watch it at least once and try and enjoy the story that's being told, but also look at the very subtle things that they do with color, with the shots, with the way the dialogue is set up, and the things
Mm.
that are said, and the movements. Everything in that film is so meticulous. You know, it's like watching a brain surgeon going at it because it's done in such a accuracy and everything is so perfectly done. And it's only until I watched one video where they said, "Do you understand how important light is?" And you go, "Eh?" And spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen it. One of the most impressive parts of light in that film is the scene where the driver meets the girl in her flat and they're talking to each other. And every time it cuts to the driver, the background is blue. And every time it cuts to the woman, it's like a very orange hue. And you can see the photo on the wall of, I think it's a picture of her son and like the husband in the corner. And then you can see the driver as like a silhouette in the background over the top,
Ooh,
and straight away you can understand the full story of what's going to come just from a single shot. And a lot
wow.
of people miss it, and obviously because the driver is a very mysterious and evil person for what he does, you get the blue background, and because she's the sunshine, the bright protagonist, it's every time the camera's on her, it's always brightly lit up,
That is
and you sit there
so
and go,
good.
shit, I didn't miss that. I missed that all the way through it. So I
Yeah,
went back, and so many of those little things that have been placed in that film that you just subconsciously forget about because it's just shot in such a meticulous way. So if you haven't seen Drive, go and watch it and then watch it again and look out for those individual
I'm
things
gonna
because
do
you will
that. I'm gonna watch
spot a
that
lot.
again, man. Have you seen Blade Runner 2049? Oh, what did you think?
I'll be honest, that I'm in fact Blade Runner again was another reason I got into animation. Toy Story, Blade Runner, and what was the other film? Tron were the three
Oh
that got me into
yeah,
animation.
Tron.
So, as a person who's been obsessed with Blade Runner for a very long time, including the game, which I absolutely love, and not many people have played it, but I watched 2049, and I don't know if it's because I went with an attitude of I think this is going to be shit. I didn't enjoy it, and I went away for like 2 months, and I came back and I said I need to give this another chance. And I sat down and I just emptied my mind. I said, get rid of everything that you've heard, everything you've seen, and watch it as it is. And this time when I watched it, I didn't watch it with my soundbar. I watched it with with a set of headphones on. Turned all the lights off, and I said, "Right, film, headphones, complete focus." Right, and I actually think it is one of the most beautifully shot
It's so
films
good.
ever made.
That
It is
Chinatown scene. That
abs-
Chinatown scene with the whoa, 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 whoa. That motorbike sound is so flipping cool, man. I love it.
even even the scene when they have the check-in. I've forgotten what it's called now, where they have to repeat the last line
Interlinked.
of the sentence.
Cells interlinked.
That
Yeah, so good.
that scene in itself can. I mean, there's nothing to it, right? It's Ron Gosling sat in a room with a portal in front of him that's got a camera and a mic, and him sat in a white room, right? The tension you feel in that room
Yeah,
just through the audio, the delivery of the lines, and the way he's being spoken to, and there's nothing in the room except for him, and you think
yeah,
that's brilliant to
yeah.
do that, to pull off that much tension. And the thing is it starts off and you sort of go, what's going on? And then slowly you can just feel that gauge slowly start to increase and increase and increase and increase until you get to that crescendo and you go, oh, he's done. Right, okay, right.
Yeah,
And then
and
you
it's
can
like
just feel the entire thing go.
it's like collect your bonus, but then the follow up bit is getting closer to the end.
Yes,
He's becoming more human, and if they become more human, they got to be taken out by the Blade Runners.
that's
So
right.
like he screws up. He's like, you're not even close to baseline. It's so
Yeah,
good.
exactly. And that's why I think part of the problem is, right, and we're all guilty of this, and it doesn't matter if you're talking about gaming, video, even music. Right? We all have, nostalgia tinted lenses sometimes when we look at things, right? And a perfect example of this was probably Doom 3, actually. When Doom 3 came out, there was such a backlash against it where people were like, this is far too controversial. This is so different from Doom. I don't like this. I don't like that. And I had never seen the Doom committee being split completely down the middle, where it was like, I love it. It's gone into a pure horror genre. And those who have gone, it's supposed to be an action shooter. And I was kind of sat in the middle going, oh, I don't know about this. Here's the really crazy thing. I played Doom 3 in VR. So someone has remodded the game of Doom 3 in VR. And I can tell you now, it's probably one of the best Doom games ever.
Really?
Because when you play it in VR, it is a whole different kettle of fish because
Really?
it becomes a true horror survival game.
Ooh.
Because you're so immersed inside of it. And obviously, you've got the torch and the gun and
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
It completely changes everything about that game. Now, do I think Doom 3 was a great game? Not my cup of tea, but when I played it in VR, completely changed
Really?
my opinion. Completely changed my opinion. It is exceptional in VR, and it just shows. I actually think if they had released that game now on the Oculus or Meta, whatever you want to call it as, now it would have done a lot better than it did on its launch when it came out all
Yeah.
those years ago. I genuinely believe it because it's so weird. It's an old game, but it was almost meant for VR. It was crazy. It's one of the
Yeah.
craziest experiences I've ever had. Which then comes into things like, Doom and Doom Eternal, which is they obviously, decided to go a complete 180 and go so much action that sometimes your eyes can't even keep up with what's going on. But again, like the crazy thing is that I've seen some people make some mods for the original Doom. I mean, what did I see the other day? I saw a Terminator mod for the original Doom game
Whoa.
that was piggybacked off the back of Brutal Doom mod. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah, Bruce T
And
is
I was
great.
like, I was like, this is insane. Like, this is proper Terminator game using Brutal Doom based on the Doom game. And I'm going, hang on a minute, I can't deal with this. This is like the best Terminator game ever. Like, why doesn't this exist? So it shows that the Doom Foundation as a game, as a title, as a storyline will always be there. But the one thing that we can learn, and this comes back to I guess, the underlining tone of this podcast, which is you take Doom, you put your own spin on it, and you deliver what you want. So whether it's you making it out of cardboard, whether it's taking it down a survival horror genre, whether it's modding the crap out of it and turning it into a Terminator game, it's still Doom. And I think that's a very powerful message to take away from it.
Yeah, I think that's a nice little thing to say. I think
Mm,
Doom Eternal. I played Doom Eternal recently and completed it as well, which is unusual for me because I never really complete games. But I thought it was unbelievably good and quite heartwarming as well. To the fact that they kind of like they were very respectful of the original too. Not you need to be respectful of the original if you're making your own thing, like you say. But
sure.
I think they did. They were really good with how they did it. All the enemies and like the Arachnotron. When you first see the Arachnotron, it keeps on kicking your ass, and eventually by the end, you're just like, boop, 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 and it's dead. It's just amazing how kind of like you get to that certain point and he goes, right, you're now ready. You've learned. You think, oh crap, I've been doing a tutorial the whole time before, pretty much. But he goes, now you got your stuff, now you're ready, and suddenly all the bad guys come at you, and you like, you just take them all out, and like, this is flipping amazing. I get it now. It's like, I think a lot of people that did like Doom Eternal, they didn't get that far enough to know that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But then some people just didn't like it, and that's that. It's their opinion.
I think the so here's one of the things, right? This guy has become a cornerstone of gaming, right?
Mm.
The Doom guy. And the problem is that if you think of the original Doom games, you never really felt like a true badass, right? You felt like a Marine was killing aliens. And I think the one thing that they absolutely nailed with Doom Eternal was the more add-ons you got, the more ridiculously badass you became. And then when the music hits and you walk into a room and there are hundreds of these bastards sat in front of you, and you suddenly go, "Yeah, but it doesn't matter. I am the Doomslayer
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
I
yeah.
can go and kick ass." And that undertone was set all the way through the original Doom film. And I think I showed you that Doom trailer for the original
Yes,
reboot of
amazing.
the game. That trailer, till this day, I can watch that, and not only do my testicles grow at least 10 times bigger, but but the testosterone goes through the roof because you suddenly go, this is Doom. This is, I am the Doom Slayer, right? And that was part of the problem I think that was missing with maybe Doom 3. It's meant to be this big badass, but you're like, oh, I've got to hide myself
Yeah,
and
he
use
did.
a little torch and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, he
It
didn't really
didn't
come across as
it's meant
the.
to be this big kick ass dude.
And his helmet was always off as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he didn't look really the part. He looked. I don't know what he looked like, but he didn't really look like Doomslayer. Like
No, and I
Doomslayer's
think
uncle or something.
that's one of the reasons why I think Doom and Doom Eternal will go down probably in the pantheon of gaming as being one of the most kick-ass moments where you boot the game up, the music kicks in, and you just see Doom Eternal slap on the screen on a black background, and you suddenly
Mm,
go,
yeah.
"I'm ready,
Yeah,
let's
yeah,
go!"
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
let's go.
I just thought it was so good. Like everything in it was to me was great. Like the Revenant and like just all the enemies. They looked like the original enemies. And yeah, I'm being nostalgic about it, but why not?
Hmm.
And like it was just brilliant. I just love and the way you can sort of like immobilize them as well. Like you can take out Rattraytron's cannon, and then like
Exactly,
you can
yeah,
shoot off Mancubus's arms, and they become flamethrowers. Just stuff like that. It's just
that's it.
so flipping cool. So good, man. So good.
I do wonder if now they have set the benchmark so high that maybe they can't actually make another Doom
I,
game. And I know that sounds
I don't know.
terrible to say,
I
but
don't. I think there'll be maybe more DLC. Like they might do a GTA
hmm,
5 out of it or something until they can really do GTA 6, doing whatever it's
yeah,
going to be next. But it, I have no idea. There's loads of like Rise the Triad feeling bit. Rise the Triad, that game Rise the Triad?
mm,
There's loads of bits in Doom Eternal that are like that. And people just sort of like, I don't like the jump mechanics. Yeah, but you haven't played Rise the Triad. Where you're jumping on
yeah,
those little
exactly.
things, and it just took me back to like a lot of like Quake 3 Arena, where you're jumping on those things,
Yeah, the
bouncing
teleport
everywhere.
jumpers. Yeah,
Yeah, all that sort of stuff. It sort of took me back to that time in classic PC gaming and sort of merged it all into one thing. And I was like, this is flipping cool, man.
I read this once, and I think it's probably the best quote I've heard, which is Doom Eternal takes the best of the old, combines it with the new, and ties it off with a love letter. And I went,
Yeah, I do.
that's probably about right. I
That
think
I do.
that's a fair description of it.
Yeah,
And there's so many callbacks to the original games as well
yeah,
that I think there's enough for the old, enough for the new. And again, it comes back to something we said before, which is it's got to be entertaining enough to bring in new people to the storyline and to the series, but without overcooking it too much that it's going to put off people like ourselves that have grown up with it. But there will always be naysayers, but I think the sales of the game, popularity, the meme culture that's born out of the back of Doom Eternal, that it will always cement itself as being one of the best, if not the best, um, Doom games that's ever made.
mm.
So I have to ask a question, and I don't know if you can disclose, but what did John Romero think of the film?
He liked it. Yeah, he sent me because I've been buying some bits off him lately because he's selling bits from his collection. So I've been going a bit like bit don't tell the wife sort of and buying loads of stuff on him. But yeah, he sort of tweeted it out and stuff. Like the previous cardboard ones, he's always tweeted out and shared and stuff like that. Romero Games shared out as well, and he shared out this one as well. So yeah, his daughter, because his daughter's sending me some stuff from the shop. And his daughter messaged me and was talking to me about it. And I was like, oh, what's John thinking about the film? He's like, oh, man, we all watch it and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, sweet. It's pretty
Oh
cool.
wow.
Yeah, so it's nice to know that he says he really likes my stuff and all that. So yeah, long answer, but yeah, he likes it.
Well, he's making a new game, Bill. Maybe you could do the game trailer.
Oh man, I saw like
Just saying.
I saw there's a job vacancy open, but there's no way I could do anything involving what they do. It's too technical for me.
Well, do you know what? I mean, going back to the original Doom trailer, I mean, there's nothing in that game that replicates how the actual game plays. But, as I said, I think there are certain aspects of the style that you've created that can be applied to a lot of different industries. And whether it's John picking you up or some other company, I think this is the start of something massive.
I hope so, mate. It'd be nice. If not, it doesn't matter because
we've got a great film.
Yeah, that's the way I see it. I just want to make a film that I've always wanted to do because I hate to sound morbid, but life is temporary. We don't live forever, and whether we become some great big film director or whatever, it all comes to an end. So I'd rather just dedicate my life to making a film based around something that I love. If I don't need to make money from it. I just want to have fun making something for the fans of Doom, and hopefully it's something that they never got. That is, from me. So yeah, I don't really mind too much.
See that's one of the things I always thought about because you mentioned Transformers because you got someone like Michael Bay who was just known for blowing everything up, right? So the issue is that I wonder how many people from the original Transformers teams and the people from the original Hasbro who made the original toys were involved. Probably nil, if not one person.
Yeah,
right?
it's real sad,
and I think, yeah, and that's where the love of doing something that you're interested in comes from. Because I genuinely believe that when you have like-minded people on board on a project with something they're passionate about, the end result is what you want. And I think that's why I said when I watched the first episode that you've uploaded, I didn't look for errors or continuity issues or anything like that because I was just like, give me the damn film. I want to see this. And that's why, because it's such a passion project, you feel the passion and you forget everything else. I think that's why I'm very excited to see what you're going to do next. And I wish you all the best because genuinely, I said it on the This Week in Retro podcast. You're probably, if not the most talented person I know, second to none.
Man, massive virtual high five.
And because I've done animation, because I've done video editing, I think I have so much respect and of your dedication and the effort that you put. I mean, to cover yourself in bloody emulsion, if that ain't dedication, I don't know what is.
Who knows what's next?
Well, exactly. Yeah, let's see. Maybe we'll get you a green screen suit that you can run around with.
Archvile's going to be coming up at some point. I might have to set myself on fire. Well,
we'll get the fire brigade on.
I was thinking about setting my hand on fire for one point. Like, I don't know how I'd do it, but I want to get like a realistic. I don't know how they do it in films.
There's a plastics. I only know this because the university I went to had a special effects department. They were playing around with this. It looks like Vaseline, basically.
Yeah, that's it.
So you cover yourself in it, and then when you set fire to it, it burns, but it doesn't burn at a high temperature that it burns the skin, or it takes a very long time before it starts to penetrate and damage the skin.
So cool.
I think you probably get I think you can give yourself about 20 to 30 seconds before you start going, ow, 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 this is a bit hot, which normally through a shot, if you're on fire, is normally long enough.
The problem is I've got to get those like witch's fingers. You know those witch's fingers you get and make your fingers, and then I've got to spray paint my whole arm white. and so it looks like the Archvile's hand. And then I'll have to set it on fire. So plasticky, fleshy fingers on
I'll tell you
fire.
one thing. Halloween's gonna be good at your yard, isn't it? Open the door and there's gonna be
Props
a
everywhere.
exactly props everywhere, and kids are gonna be going, "What the
Why's it
bloody
got
hell's
on
going on? Oh, do you want to see my hand on fire?
fire? Just
Trick or treat, watch this."
boom! Oh shit!
Yeah. Party at Bill's house on the 31st of October. No, don't.
Yeah.
But anyway, in closing, and I've asked this a few times to some of my guests, what's the one thing that you have regretted in making this project, and what's the proudest thing that you've achieved so far?
The thing I've regretted in this project, I suppose, is not doing it sooner. I should have done it sooner, but then again, I wouldn't have the knowledge that I have now. And one thing that I'm concerned about is kind of like where I get better. Am I going to look back to the first episode and go, "Oh my god, now it doesn't match up"? So like, I've got to try and be careful in a way. But I don't have
Sure.
any real regrets. I don't think, no real regrets. I mean, I'm still working on it, the first part, as we speak. So, like, any regrets I can change. So my regrets are flipping typos and little odds and ends I should have seen and tweaked. But yeah, no real big regrets, I don't think. And the other question was, sorry.
Your proudest, the thing that you're most proud of.
I think it has to be this, because I've always wanted to do it. I've wanted to do it since I was a kid. And I remember the times I was like, well, I still am a cleaner, but like I remember the times where I was just mopping floors and stuff like that. And just like I was working in a pretty horrible environment with people, with my bosses that weren't very nice and, put you down a lot. And I was just listening to music and I was like, this is as far as it's going to get. Listen to music, putting the music to the film, to the game, and now I got that music with the game and filmed the scenes and got it appreciated. And that's the best thing ever for me.
Do you know, I've never told you this, and I'm going to tell you this now. Knowing that you're a cleaner, how can I word this? It makes me happy and sad at the same time. And I'll explain why. Because, and this is why I was saying I really hope this takes off, because I think you deserve some major reward at the end of this. And I'm not saying monetary reward, but there needs to be something that gets established at the end of this. And whether it's a new filming style, because no one's ever done this before, right? The style that you've got is completely unique, and no one can take that away from you. And I really hope that something massive comes off the back of this, because you're one of the most dedicated people that I've seen do filmmaking. And I keep a track on a lot of other different people who make films, but this is something special. And the other reason I say about you being a cleaner is that, unlike me, I carry work around with me all day long, right? But I guess with you, when your job's done, you go home and go, "Well, do you know what? That's done. I can go and unwind."
That's the thing. Like, I've always liked cleaning work, because it's just like, when you want to be creative, you can't. I feel like I can't have a job which is demanding, because I've got a graphic design degree, and I've gone into that before, and you do think about it an awful lot when you go home. So I was like, I want to do my own. So I became an artist for 10 years, and that was good, but very, very tricky. But I had to work. You had to have another job. You can't just fall back on being an artist. It's very, very difficult.
Yeah, sure.
So I just had a cleaning job, and that worked out fine. That paid my rent, and anything else is a bonus. So but yeah, it's you just don't take your work home with you, and that's something I just couldn't do. I had to have my creativity and my job, and they have two separate things.
It reminds me of something I heard once, and it's something that stayed with me for a very long time. So within Egypt, there was an Islamic preacher, and he was such an amazing guy, and he was very positive and stuff like that. And the main, I guess, for a better term, Islamic scholarships within Egypt wanted to honor him, and they made a big song and dance of it, and it was a big event. And before he went on stage, and this is absolutely true, they lost him.
What?
And they were looking everywhere, going, "Where the hell has this guy
disappeared?
gone?" it just disappeared. And someone ran into the bathroom and he was in there cleaning the bathroom. And someone's going, "What the hell are you doing? You're about to go on stage, and you're, you're in the bathroom cleaning." And he said, "I realized that I was being honored, but my brain wasn't being humble enough to accept the award. So I came into the bathroom to clean, to bring my mind back down to the level so
Oh,
that I
right.
don't accept this award
Oh,
and it
wow.
blows up my ego." And I went, wow, that is incredible. Because you think about the Oscars, right? People come on stage, it goes to their head. Next week they're drunk and in a street and doing something they shouldn't be, right? And a lot of that is because the ego of the reward and everything else overtakes the passion of what they do. And that's why I said to you, I really hope this takes off. Not because I want to see you drunk out in the streets,
You might see that.
but might see that if I go to Guildford. But it's because I've always believed that in the end, if you work hard and you've got enough passion for something, it will return massively in dividend. And that goes with anything. I've been fortunate enough in the positions that I've found myself in, whether it be the things I do now or even the job that I've been in. But, there have been times where I've had to completely bust my ass to get everything that I've got. And
Mm.
there were times when I've sat there and said, I'm never going to achieve that. I'm never going to get that. This isn't going to work. But you slowly start to chip away at things and you go, do you know what? Maybe it's not as unattainable as I think.
Mm.
And I think a lot of that does come through hard work. And this is why, and I'll always say this, if you get famous and you get to a level too quick, you don't appreciate it and you lose it just as quick as
It's
you
kind of
got it.
like
And
it's like
that's
it's like winning the lottery and
exactly.
buying a Ferrari. It's like some people need to spend their lives trying to work towards getting this Ferrari, and for when they get the Ferrari at
Yes.
like 60 years old after saving up their whole life, this means something. Just going out and buying it, you're like, I bought a pair of Oakleys, not Oakleys, Ray Bans. I just bought them. I've been wanting some for ages, but I just bought some spontaneously. I was like,
Hmm.
I don't have the fit for what I thought it'd be when I have them. Maybe it's just getting old.
No,
I
exactly.
don't know.
No, I think you're absolutely right. There's definitely something to having an appreciation, and this is why I think it's nice to know that rather than doing something for a monetary reason, you're doing it out of the love and passion of what you
Mm.
enjoy, and that resonates through everything that um, we should be doing as a society and things that you enjoy. Because I think half the problem is that we're constantly spending too long running the rat race of trying to, get the Lambo, get the big house, get the yacht, get this, get that. But the foundation of being happy in what you're doing is completely being lost. And that's
Yeah.
why having a passion about something that you enjoy is fundamental to everything that you do. There were times where I wanted to give up Twitch streaming, but I sat there and went, but you know what? I actually enjoy it. So why would I give it up?
Yeah,
So,
right.
it sounds stupid,
No,
right?
but
But
it's
but
true. Yeah.
the problem is again, there were people who were blowing a lot of smoke up my ass beforehand who were like, you're going to be a big Twitch streamer, you could be huge, you could be this, you could be that. And the problem is as your ego starts to inflate and those things don't happen, you go, oh, I'm the problem, clearly. But the problem is I needed to readjust my mindset, which was, I don't care about the fame. I treat streaming on Twitch as basically sitting down with a bunch of mates having a laugh. And now I enjoy it more than ever because I've never laughed more in my life than when I'm streaming, because my
Mm.
community are some of the funniest people I've ever met. And I'm very lucky with that. But again, I do it because I enjoy it. And again, I think there's a lot of people who do YouTube, who do Twitch streaming, who do music making, who are searching for that one paycheck that will sort their life out rather than actually do it for the enjoyment.
You have to do it if you to enjoy it. I mean, look back when we were playing games. Look how it all started. I mean, I used to go to my friend's house and play a game. There was no camera. There was no donations. There was nothing like that. We were just playing games together, and that's how it all started. And
Mm,
like you say, playing Twitch. Why would you give it up? You enjoy it. It's just you're just chilling out. You don't even need to think where it's going to be in 10 years, whether you've blown up, whether you're this guy or that guy. I always think the
mm,
idea of being famous is pretty terrifying, to be honest, in this today's society. Everyone knowing where you
yeah.
live and, sort of people searching through your internet history to make sure you haven't said anything wrong and all this sort of stuff. Yeah.
It's funny. I remember having this conversation a long time ago with a set of friends, and they were like,
Mm.
"Oh, if I think the was it one of the lotteries in America was at like 100 and no, what was it? It was like 280 million US dollars or
Oh my
something
God.
insane." And they were saying, "Oh, what would you do with that money if you won it?" And obviously, some people are like, "I'll buy this and I'll buy that," and da da da. And they turned to me and they went, "You haven't said much. Why is that?" And I said, "Well, there's four things I'd get." And they were like, "Oh, here we go. It'll be like a big plane or something." And I went, "No, no, 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 no." I said, number one, nutritionist. Number two, fitness instructor. Number three, financial advisor. And number four, psychologist. Because
Yeah,
out of all of those, if you haven't got those, that money is going to go like that.
that's true. I mean, look at the Lotto Lout. You heard of him?
Mm.
Yeah, no, he didn't have those. I guarantee it.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is that again, I think part problem is that a lot of people believe that um, money is the cure of a lot of things, but as I've always said, money makes people act funny, and it actually causes a lot more problems than you
Yeah,
realise. So,
it can help
um,
with things if you know what you're doing.
yeah,
But if you don't know what you're doing
exactly,
and you're given £280 million,
jeez,
yeah, it's pretty
exactly,
dangerous.
and I think that's where coming back full circle to things like YouTube. I think before when people got involved, they were doing it for the love of filmmaking, right? When you start to think of the early YouTube videos that I used to see, a lot of it was the very independent filmmakers having a laugh. Um, People like the Angry Video Game Nerd is a perfect example
Mhm.
of that, where very low budget, had an interest, loved it, and now look where he is now, right? But he never did it for the money. He did it because he enjoyed it. But
Mm.
now the problem is that because people have realized that you only need that one viral video can completely change your trajectory on life.
Mm.
The creativity is dying, and I genuinely believe that if a competitor comes along, YouTube have got a huge problem on their hands, because I can see a lot of people going, "Do you know what?
I think it
I'm
needs to
going over
happen.
here."
I think it needs to happen. But the thing is that there are so many people that prefer the quick videos, the quick little TikToky videos, that I don't think anything could exist on its own, which is just about creative filmmaking. And,
Mm.
like I say, you've got Vimeo, but I mean, I'm tempted to even subscribe to that. I'm not sure if it's too much. I can't remember, but I think it's like two.
I'm. It went through my mind, and I was wondering: are your individual uploads of each episode going to outperform the final video because of what we've just said? People wanting snapshots. Because if you think of TV series, when
Mhm.
people watch them, they watch them in bite-sized bits, right?
Mm.
Rather than well, some people binge watch them in one go. And it went through my mind, and I was going, maybe Bill's onto something. Instead of finishing the whole film by releasing it episode by episode, it will
Yeah,
actually be better.
yeah.
And do you know what? I think you're absolutely on the money with this. I look forward to the day, and I think you mentioned it before about having the full motion video shown in a cinema.
Yeah,
I
that's what I'm
can't
going to do.
frigging wait to see it.
What I'm
I
going to
cannot
do,
wait to see that.
what I'm thinking of doing actually is going to do the first, second, and third part on YouTube, and then at the end, I'm probably going to spend a year or something putting those three parts together, and then putting them back into Final Cut or Adobe Premiere, and I'm going to go and learn After Effects and go through the whole video again, and put on little tweaks here and there, After Effects, little gun flashes and stuff, just to make it go that extra length, I think, and just tweak it and make it even
What
more solid.
what I would love to see, and I would like people who watch this video to tweet out at id Games, is say, if Bill gets this shown in a cinema, come and back it and bring people with you,
Yeah, I
because
mean, it'd be free. It'd be
well,
free to see in the cinema because I'm not taking any money from this film because I want it to be
okay.
copyright free. I want complete creative freedom. That's the main thing from this. So no money will be taken. It'd be completely free at the cinema. I've already got the cinema. Sort of, if they're going to be still around, I don't know. In 3 years' time, I don't know if cinemas will still be around. But I've got a cinema I'm going to play it at that I've already spoken to.
Here's an interesting one. Did anyone at Bethesda contact you?
They've contacted me before a while ago. That was Bethesda UK, but they haven't contacted
Hmm.
me. I think they did for the previous cardboard Doom film I did, but not for this one.
I sense a marketing campaign coming. Get Bill famous is the hashtag
Not
that we're going to
too
go for. No,
not
no,
too
we're not.
famous though.
Not too famous.
Not too famous.
I again, in closing, Bill, I think what you've made is something incredibly unique. And for
Thanks,
anyone who
man.
hasn't seen it, there'll be links in the descriptions and everything. I think it's definitely your own personal love letter to something that you personally enjoy, as we all do. We all individually love Dune in our own way. And it's clear to see the amount of effort that you've put in, sacrificing your own body, as well as your as well as your wife's sanity, probably. So it's clear to see that the amount of effort you've put in is definitely going to reap some rewards. So all the best to you, mate. I
Thanks,
can't
man.
wait to see where this journey goes. It's been a roller coaster watching you go from doing little videos with Wilson to seeing this complete behemoth take place and then see it being published. So I'm so hyped for the future, and I really wish you all the best. I genuinely think this is going to be the turning point for you, and I can definitely see this going places.
Thanks, man. I think you deserve another virtual high five. Here we go.
There you go.
Thanks,
Good
man.
job.
I really appreciate your kind words. It's stuff like that sort of like that is really the motivational tools. Tools, is that the right word? Just the motivation that I need to sort of get me through and for the next part. It's stuff like this that I don't forget and I remember. And it is difficult when we're doing this stuff. It is really challenging, and it's like I say, it means a lot to hear nice things like that. So thank you.
No, sure. And I've always been an advocate that you have a choice in life, which is if you're at a specific level and you see, I don't want to say someone struggling because that's not the quite right term, but if you see someone who's working hard, you have a choice. You can either push them aside or you can try and build them up to a level that you think they should be at. And that's always been my ethos: is don't destroy something that you enjoy. Get involved in the ride and help propel them forward, because when they get to their destination, hopefully, they'll turn around and do the same for you. And it becomes an everlasting cycle of pushing each other forward. And I've done it with a few friends before. And, now we're very comfortable in life. And, I can spend time in my day like I am with you rather than stressing about certain other things in life. And, as I've said, YouTube can be a horrible place with comments, and there will always be people who will manage to find that one thing that will just manage to wind you up. But if you look past that, there is a huge army of people that completely admire you, Bill.
Thank you.
And I think a lot of that is the passion and dedication and the quality of the work. And I think in closing, there's definitely going to be something at the end of the road. I don't know what it's going to be. Maybe you're going to be in Monaco by this time next year in your own yacht. I don't know. If you are, invite me. Maybe this podcast will take off and we'll shoot it from Monaco. Who knows? But all the best, Bill. I really think and really hope that the people at Bethesda reach out to you, because it needs a big clout behind it now. And I think I just want to see that Bethesda logo like at the beginning, just saying like, we support you, because I think
that'd be so cool, man.
Massive.
Oh, wouldn't it be so cool? My dream would be when a new Doom game comes out for there to be like a Wilson Easter egg. I would flipping die if there's a Wilson reference in the new Doom game. Oh my god, that would be the best thing ever. I'd love that.
Or a Bill Thorpe skin where the Doomslayer just paints himself in B&Q paint before he goes.
The B&Q version.
Are you ready to go through the teleporter? Hang on a minute. I'll just put this on. Yeah, we're ready now.
Can I just say thanks? A few words of thanks to people. Is that okay?
Go right ahead, mate. The floor is yours.
I want to say thank you to my patrons. That includes you, Dean. Also, I want to just say thanks to the people that there was Foam Smith Joe, who actually made the helmet for this Doom project. He's does stuff for cosplay and stuff, and I saw it. I was like, that is perfect. I can't find a helmet anywhere. Can I borrow it? But he gave it to me. and it was so kind. There's also Rolls Kane, who designed the intro logo, the 3D logo at the beginning. So it wasn't all me that did the stuff. Little sort of people have come along and helped me along the way with bits, including yourself, Dean. You gave me some bits and bobs, sort of displays and sort of effects and stuff. So all that stuff really, really helps. And just thank you to everyone, and also the Doom community as well. I've always found the Doom community to be really lovely. So you've got the good work, everyone. And thank you very much for this podcast today, Dean. I've really enjoyed it.
No, you're very welcome, Bill. It's always been a pleasure. And first returning podcast guest, and you certainly won't be not welcome. You are always welcome to do a podcast with me.
Man.
And it's been a pleasure, man. I know the first one we did, I think, was live. This one's obviously recorded offline.
Yeah.
But I think the underlining tone is keep on doing what you're doing, and you're on the right path, mate. So, from me to you, it's been a pleasure to talk to you for nearly 2 hours now.
Oh, wow.
And hopefully everyone enjoy. Yeah, it's 1 hour 51, so we're getting there. All of the links for Bill's channel and anything else that we've referenced, I will try and put some pictures and stuff of Bill's movie into bits that we've spoken about. And any reference, if you want to hear Bill from the early days, there will be a link in the description in the show notes as well from our first chat. God, I can't even remember when that was.
I think that must have been well over 2 years. No,
in fact, I'll tell you what. I'll have a quick look now.
I reckon
Let's have a look and do this on the fly.
No, 3 years ago.
No, I thought I've got a funny feeling 3 might be close. Let me just have a quick look. Let me have a quick look. It was 3 years. My God.
Jeez. Time is
wow, that has flown by.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy.
Whoa, I was not expected to see 3 years. But does that mean I've been doing this podcast for 3 years?
It does, that's it. Well, longer than 3 years, actually.
I feel old now. Cheers, Bill. but hey, same room, different angle, better lighting. That's the only things that have changed.
You still got the Egyptian.
I've still got it there. I've still got the hieroglyphics. They're still on the wall. But yeah. The only difference is I've got this nice little camera that I can look you in the eye now, rather than having the weird 3/4 camera that I had before. So, but yeah, I mean, in closing, mate, thank you for being a guest. All the best for the future, and I really, really hope this is the thing that sends you into that stratosphere where you belong, mate.
Very nice. It's been a pleasure, man. Thank you very much.
Let's keep going. Right. Thank you very much, everyone. As I said, all of the details for Bill will be in the description notes before. But from me, Mean Machine Dean, and from Bill,
bye-bye.
Goodbye. I didn't even have to tell him to wave. That's brilliant. Cheers, Bill. Take care, mate.
Bye.
Hi there, Dean here. Hope you enjoyed that episode. Make sure you add this podcast to your favourites on whichever podcasting platform you use, and give it a positive review. Until next time, Mean Machine Dean, signing out.